Cool. All right. Hey everyone, I'm Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I'm here today with some of the team behind the new movie Feed Me. I am here with co-directors and co-writers Richard Oakes and Adam Leader. And I'm also here with stars Neal Ward and Christopher Mulvin. Hello everyone, how are you?
How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having us.
I'm very excited to chat. I love cannibals. That say what you will about me for liking cannibal movies, but that's just who I am. So before we launch into some of the nitty gritty, Adam and Richard, I want to hear from you. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about what this movie is about?
This movie is about, well, I guess cannibalism mainly, of course, but it's about the journey of a man who has recently suffered with a loss, who finds himself in the home of a deranged cannibal who convinces him to die in the most horrific way imaginable.
Yeah, pretty much. And at the beginning of the movie, it says inspired by real events. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it's we were on a music video shoot because we do music videos as well, and Adam came up to me and was like, you know that story about the Jim and Cannibal that like put an ad out and got this guy to agree to be eaten? And we were like, yeah, and he was like, why don't we do a film about that but make it bonkers? And we were like, okay. sounds right up our alley.
Yeah. I was wondering if it was inspired by that particular story. So I was like, this sounds very familiar to a very weird Craigslist case that I have heard about, but okay, very interesting. So like, how did that idea evolve? Like, obviously you have this very fucked up, good core idea, and how did that evolve for you as you begin writing the script?
Well, what we do is like, I mean, so we always start with a seed, which was that, you know, that was the seed of this movie thing. So the two of us got together. We went to Rich's house, and that's kind of how we write our films. We sit down, we lock ourselves away, and we spend 3 to 5 nights. And by nights I mean basically day and night. We just go like until all hours of the morning, just riffing off each other and fleshing out this story from start to finish of all the scenes that we want to do. There's a lot of laughing involved, which is great, you know, and there's always, you know, if Rich thinks of something, I'll be like, oh yeah, and what about that? And then if I think of something, Rich will be like, what about that? So we keep elevating these ideas until we love them, basically. And then once that's done, like I kind of take this Bible, so if you will, and go and do the screenplay after that. And that's kind of how it built from there, and then the rest followed.
Cool. So Neal, Lionel is unhinged and incredible and has a really wild Texas accent and a really wild wig. And I just want to hear more about how you built this character, because he's incredible and terrifying and kind of funny and like a little bit sympathetic at some points, but then you're like, no, you're a monster. So I wanted to hear more from you about creating Lionel, because it feels like you really made this guy like your own and like embodied this crazy guy.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to the boys. They created this story, and I say Adam goes away and puts it together. So what I have is what Adam had finalized and penned down, and you see it on paper, and it didn't come across to me as that bonkers. So I approached the script and did a lot of work with it, and tried to sort of treat it quite serious in the sense that I looked at some of my idols, John Bernthal, Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, for that sort of Texan South sort of speaking kind of guy. So it did start out very serious. And then within like the first day of filming, there wasn't too heavy scenes going on, but some of the physicalities that we were working on, he always had like a limp hand, and he had an outturned foot for the physicality and slightly hunched over, whereas I'm quite tall. So I sort of, when we started working with that and doing some little extra improvised bits with the guys going, try this, try that, it became a bit goofy and slapstick. So rather than John Bernthal, Tommy Lee Jones and Josh Brolin, we ended up with Foghorn Leghorn, Eugene from The Walking Dead, and then one of my other idols, Michael Keaton, he went that way to like Beetlejuicy. So, and I'm getting so much on Twitter at the moment. Twitter blew up yesterday with people thinking that I was Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso, and said Ted Lasso's in this film. When did he film this? And I'm just going, no, it's me. It's me. And they're like, no, it's
Thank
not.
you, but that's me.
Yeah, and he can't take my credit, but so yeah, I mean, the guys were talking about the hairstyle being longer than mine because I'm short and shaved, and the glasses are the typical Dharma glasses. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's recognizes them, and the mustache just sort of fit in with that a little bit, and then it did become that, and then the goofy Texan accent came out. I'm so glad you said Texan. I was wondering if I got it wrong with everybody, but that's.
I think it's. I'm not from the South, so I think it's Texan, but I might be offending people in the South. But
I'll take that, though. I'll take that. So yeah, I mean, I always like to push things as far as possible with what I do. So it's every actor's wet dream to play someone like Lionel Fleck. He's got all the elements. He's got the bonkers, crazy comedy side, and then the seriousness, and then the intenseness. The scenes with Jed that's just really intense, and then there's the really sad stuff, which is just showing that he's actually human and has had a past, regardless of what he's doing with his life now, which isn't condoned. So yeah, it was interesting, and it was one of the best moments of my life to work with Richard, Adam, and Chris, and everyone else on set, Sam and Hannah, and all the team and crew all gave me a little bit to work with Lionel. So yeah, it's a part of everybody really. He is. I copy a lot of things and use things from what I see. So put them all together and mix it up, and there you go. There's Lionel.
Get Lionel. And Christopher, what was it like to act alongside Neal and like both watch and then react to the madness of Lionel?
It was difficult. Because sometimes I'm having to put my space and like my headset into this depression, like I'm willing to, just give it all up now. I'm ready to go and stuff, and all these comedic sides and stuff. Because normally, majority of the time as well, I've done sort of comedic roles myself. So taking on this challenge as well of like dark, deep depression and going in, but then seeing this side as well, I was majority of the time just struggling. I was literally just like, okay, hold it back. But it was amazing. These guys as well, everyone on set as well, just giving that support and stuff. And yeah, had to go through quite a few dark sort of areas to get to that sort of mental state. But this, like Lionel Fleck, just keeping that sort of level as well was fantastic. Just so it was hard as well, staying in that sort of depression, but it worked. I think that balance as well with the craziness and the depression really came out sort of quite nicely as well on top. So it was, yeah.
And also, your character Jed is going through the absolute worst experience. His partner has passed away under like really tragic circumstances, and you are obviously, or Jed's in a very horrific place mentally. So what was that like for you in terms of preparing as an actor to get into kind of this dark, depressed headspace before even playing alongside?
Yeah, so I mean, with me and Neal, we were sort of going through the script ourselves, identifying these sort of crucial points and stuff, and then me developing this character. It was everyone again on set and stuff were amazing when it was like, okay, this is a very difficult scene that we're going to have to do. We'll give you your time and stuff, get into that sort of spatial area and stuff. And what I would do is sort of listen to music beforehand, just to get me into that sort of deep, mellow, sort of traumatic area and stuff, and also just touching up on certain things which everyone has been through, all these different elements of life and stuff, and just trying to keep into that positioning as well. So it was good on set as well, like everyone just being so incredible with that process, of course, because we're all a family on this team, and everyone's sort of keeping everybody going, everybody's hyped and stuff. But then for certain scenes, it's like, okay, we need to calm this now. Let's get into that kind of process there. So it worked for me anyway with these guys as well. So it really did.
Well, and one of my favorite scenes is when Jed is sitting in a bathtub and he's like, I'll take your picture. And then you guys did a little fashion show with his, like, and taking pictures together. And it's this moment of like, you don't have, like, Jed doesn't have an arm anymore. He's bloody in a bathtub. And then they're like being like buddies and taking photos and posing together. And I think that's what one of the things about this tone that I love, that it vacillates so quickly. And I wanted to hear more about both filming that scene, but also incorporating these moments of just like almost buddy comedy into this horrendously gory horror movie, and how they work so well, surprisingly. Like, it's really quite shocking in a good way.
That's one thing I wanted to say earlier about like how where we kind of got this idea and what excited us about this idea. And one of the first things we said is, you know, what would it be like if they were bonding and becoming closer through the experience of this violence? That's really intriguing, and so we really wanted to run with that, and that's where this bathtub scene was spawned.
Pretty much.
And what was that like, Neal and Christopher, filming that moment? I mean, like, it looked hilarious to me, but I mean, I wasn't there. But what was that like, being able to film that segment?
It was so yeah. I mean, it was a tough one getting Chris into the bath. Like, yeah, we are behind him. And then the gap between the bath and the toilet seat was extremely small, so I had to slide into that, and that was a little heavy set at the time. So yeah, it was uncomfortable, but the script says that we were supposed to be have been drinking, and Lionel doesn't drink throughout most of he says that he doesn't, and then Jed obviously notices I'm drinking. And I think we had a little bit of a cheeky one or two or five before, just to get into that space. And yeah, we're just constantly cracking up with stuff like that. And my voice had gone quite heavily on that from a scene the previous day. So several takes we had to go through, which I kind of got going on now as well. So you can't have everything going down. My voice totally changed. I couldn't do anything, you know. So, but it worked because yeah, he was supposed to be drunk and losing his voice. Exactly that,
but yeah. So I mean, as well, like with us, because obviously we've got already such a great relationship as well. All of the team here as well. Everybody's so close and friendly. It was like finally now we can actually show that on camera, and it was. I think it just kind of came to us straight away, doing the little back and forth dialogue and stuff. So it was quite easy actually for us to do that. And just, yeah, I think the only problem was just being in the bathtub for so long, just like, oh my God.
That made me laugh, like that particular scene, like every time we, like during the edit, there's one shot of Chris, you poor thing, Chris. Like he spent a lot of time in that bathtub, obviously, because we, you know, it's hard to shoot that scene. But like, there's one particular shot or angle that was captured in Chris, and he's just sitting there, obviously his arms there, and you just remind me of like a little worm, like in the bath. It's almost the way you're kind of smiling. It's almost cute, which makes it even funnier. This always reminds me of a little worm.
It's just so many like facial expressions that Chris does in that scene that just made me laugh. When you just say that, close it up. It's just like face like scrunches up to take the photo, and it just kills me.
It is like weirdly cute. It is just like, oh, they're friends. Like it's a totally normal situation.
That's it.
I also wanted to ask about the house, like Lionel's house, because that's the nastiest house I've ever seen, and I can only imagine what that house smells like. Like I feel ill thinking about it, and so thank you for eliciting that reaction. So what was that production design like? And I mean, especially that kitchen where everything is just splattered in who knows what besides blood. And I was wanted to hear more about designing that space and making it look so like Texas Chainsaw-y.
That's actually where I live. No.
Wow. So how does it smell?
Great. No.
So we were very fortunate with that, and Nadia, who's plays the policewoman in the film, she inherited that, and it needed renovation. So she said, mess it up as much as you like, because we need to gut it anyways. And so that was great. So me, Adam, and Neal actually went in for 2 weeks before the shoot and hand painted the whole house. And I kind of, the vision that I had for that was to kind of feel like Paper Street from Fight Club. That's kind of the nastiness we wanted, and just remember like just being in that bathroom and just painting the tiles and like.
It was hard. Like one thing I learned from that was that it's so much harder to make something look dilapidated and shitty than putting a lick of white paint on and making it look nice. It was actually really difficult, but that's down to him, man. Like his like, just I don't know, like the vision that Rich had for that set was just ridiculous, and seeing that all come together as we painted this place and wallpapered it, and then strategically had to make it look really horrible.
Yeah.
Which was really hard, but it was cool, and it was very strange. Everyone pretty much living there for, I think it was 7 days in total we were shooting there. You know, we all basically spent a long time every day in that place. We practically lived there. So,
but it's funny you saying it must smell horrible. It actually smelled like fresh paint.
Yeah,
it was really nice. And
That's
so,
good to know.
and eggs and bacon in the mornings as well. It smelled good.
Cooking eggs and bacon on the same oven where you're showing cooking fingers and legs and stuff, you know, fine. And I was curious about your use of eating disorders, specifically on this, and bulimia, because that ties in a lot. And, you know, with a name like Feed Me, it's a really interesting kind of parallel with the use of eating disorders and cannibalism. And I wanted to hear more about why you, Adam, and Richard wanted to use that as kind of a big plot point in the film.
In terms of like, you know, I mean, there's a huge sense of irony, obviously, with that and the overall subject matter of the film. But in terms of when it came to us writing it and stuff, there was a lot of almost research that had already been done, in a sense. I mean, personally, I've happened to have been around that since I was 11, 12 years old. You know, I for some reason, I've known several females in my life that have suffered with that, and some that are currently still suffering with that. So, and I just found it interesting, one, because it's very, very common in women. I do know of well, someone I know knows of a man that experienced that too. And it's just something that I happen to know quite a bit about, and like was really empathetic towards that, because like many others, I've suffered with certain things in terms of mental health. I think we all have, and to see that unfold from people very close to me was like, it's such a debilitating thing to have, and it's extremely hard, like any kind of disorder or addiction or anything, to come out of. So it's something very close to home, and we wanted to do it right. And I guess I tread lightly when I say this. Luckily, we had the resources to be able to do it properly.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like we don't ever really see eating disorders portrayed in such like a realistic way like this. And I appreciated seeing that in terms of like not shying away from eating disorders and talking about not only how they affect the person who has the eating disorder, but how it affects their partners. So I thought, in a movie that is so bananas and gonzo and gross, it does hit these points of like the realities of mental illness and with eating disorders. So it's a lot going on in your movie. That was really impressive that it was all kind of in there. But my last question for you is, if you could schedule your perfect double feature with Feed Me, what film would you pair with it?
Ooh, Supersize Me.
Before or after? Which one goes first? That's important.
Oh, I don't. It depends. If you want to put people off food, then probably Feed Me first.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I was thinking too.
I think just purely because I want to give them a shout out, but we went and watched Dash last night, and I absolutely adored that film. And those filmmakers are absolute geniuses.
Yeah.
Which film?
Dash.
Oh, okay.
Coming out. We're not actually. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's via XYZ Films, and it is like we got to catch it at Beyond Fest last night, and holy shit,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Well, thank you all so much for chatting with me today about cannibals and nasty things and Feed Me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.